There have been many Zelda games that have been rejected by Nintendo, such as the Lost Sheik game, the rejected RPG Tactics game, and many more that have all been heavily covered by the community. However, I've stumbled across one that I can't find a video or much information about on YouTube or any other sites. The rejected game about a Goron rolling. Yeah, it sounds strange, and it definitely is. Today, I'm going to go over everything that we know about this scrapped Zelda game from mechanics to its history, so subscribe for more Zelda content, and let's just get started. Jumping right into its history, let's talk about the process of pitching this idea to Nintendo, as well as what the full pitch actually was. By the way, I don't have a lot of elements to pull up on screen to display what I'm talking about because there's basically no information about this game on the internet, so instead, I made a bunch of absolutely beautiful MS Paint drawings that I'm going to use instead, so enjoy those. Anyway, Vanpool was a small Japanese game development company that produced the admittedly strange Tingle spin-off games in the late 2000s, as well as some other games, original and in cooperation with Nintendo, until it shut down in 2023. After releasing the Tingle series' last installment in 2009, Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love, they kept pitching ideas to Nintendo in hopes of making another Zelda game. This is where the idea for the Goron rolling game came in. They pitched an idea of a Zelda game on the DS where you play as a Goron who curls into a ball and uses that as the main source to produce the game's mechanics, story, and puzzles. That's pretty much it. You just roll around as a Goron and have an adventure where you went around and solved things and did heroic things by hurling into stuff. However, Nintendo didn't see this fit for a Zelda game due to the lack of substance in the idea, and rejected the pitch, telling Vanpool to repurpose the ideas for an original IP. Vanpool did indeed reuse many ideas from this to create their 2012 original title, Dylan's Rolling Western, which went on to have a couple sequel games from 2013 to 2018 with mixed success, both commercially and critically. So that's all to cover for both the pitch and what the game eventually turned into. Okay, now that we have the history out of the way, let's take a look at some stuff like the game's mechanics. Obviously, you'd be rolling around a lot, and pretty much everything in the game would revolve around that movement mechanic. The game would mainly be touchscreen, and the player would use the DS stylus to slingshot the Goron and control the momentum of the character. You'd roll into enemies to kill them, you'd use rolling to solve puzzles, and you use rolling for traversal. Lots of rolling. In terms of progression, it was actually sorta like a regular Zelda game. You'd have linear progression with puzzle solving and some open world elements, and you would also travel between different mountain settlements across the Goron Mountains to do something, but we don't know what. It's not quite clear why you're traveling and stuff like that, but we can assume it has something to do with some Zelda-like threat, such as a big monster coming to destroy the Goron Mountains or something similar. So essentially, you do a lot of rolling and exploring to save something in the Goron Mountains. That's all we have for the mechanics, as it seemed to be a bit of a simpler game, one of the reasons for Nintendo's rejection. But we have arguably less to go off of for the story. Unlike other rejected Zelda games, there isn't too much found about this game in terms of actual story structure or anything like that, as there aren't any storyboards or anything. However, there are some outlines that we can go off of. As I mentioned before, you travel between many different mountain settlements in order to progress, which can lead us to a few different conclusions. We might have been doing something to prove our skill as a Goron, or we could have been going between settlements to tell people about a threat like a collapsing mountain or a monster coming for the Gorons or something like that. That's my personal theory anyway. I have no idea if that's actually the case. What this game turned into, Dillion's Rolling Western, did follow a concrete story where Dillion and his friends were tasked with protecting different towns across the western frontier from stone monsters, but it was never specifically stated that this story was intended for the Zelda spin-off game, only that the mechanics were reworked from it. However, for all we know, maybe the story in Dillion's Rolling Western was similar to Vanpool's original pitch for the Goron game. We just don't actually know. So this game definitely had some strange history, from unique mechanics to a spotty pitch and story, and that's about all the information that we have on it. So that's all I have to cover for today's video. This was definitely an interesting one, and I spent quite a bit of time doing research on this video and put quite a bit of effort into it, so I hope you enjoyed. So just remember that subscribing is free, and as always, thanks for watching.